What's going on, everybody? Back again with another video commentary. One of my favorite subjects, of course, to deal with, although tiring, is the race hustle. Let's get right into it. This video is from the Chicago News, and what you see here on the screen is some protesters, community leaders in air quotes, right? Because who made them the community leader, right? That's just a title that's thrown out, right? They're not elected by the people, right? Did a bunch of black people in Chicago get together and say, hey, these are our leaders? No, these are titles that are just placed upon these handpicked Negroes, as Malcolm X would say, and just basically presented to the community as your leader. So let's get right into it. This is and what are they protesting? They're protesting about Donald Trump and his ideas of bringing the National Guard to Chicago. But let's listen to this real quick. Oh yeah, please hop in a subscription. Hit the subscribe, all of that stuff. Like, please help out, donate. It's all in the links below. Thank you very much. All right, let's get into it.
To say, as a black woman, please do not bring yourself or your military.
Okay, this is the first thing I want to, and I will be stopping a little bit. I mean, this is a 2-minute video, but actually, let's just go with it. But I did want to stress this part where she says, as a black woman. Again, already starting off the race hustle, because there's no need to start out your statement like that. You're already trying to usurp the emotions of the people listening and basically give you some type of higher relevance, respect what you're saying a little bit more just because you are a black woman. Okay, it shouldn't matter if you're a black woman or a black man. So if a black man says it, is it more important or less important? What about if it's a white man or white woman? It's a black woman, right? We're supposed to think somehow you had this unique, struggle or situation on the planet. So that's the first act of mental manipulation right there. But let's get into it.
I'm going to say, as a black woman, please do not bring yourself or your military to Chicago. We do not need you. We keep us safe.
A group of leaders and community.
Do y'all believe that? If you're from Chicago, and you from anywhere in Chicago, it doesn't necessarily have to be the hood. But if you're from Chicago, do you believe what she just said? That we, and I'm assuming she's saying the members of the community, right? I'm not even going to say she's talking about black people. But she says, we keep us safe. So it's up to interpretation who the we is, but I'm assuming she's saying the people of the community, that we just keep ourselves safe.
We keep us safe.
A group of leaders and community organizations rallied against President Donald Trump's threats to send federal troops and agents here.
I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
Hours after the city first discussed the plan to respond to federal forces should they be sent.
We do not assist, but at the same time, I want to be clear, we also do not engage in a way where we're obstructing federal agents. We do not interfere with the work that they're doing.
CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling emphasized several times that members of the National Guard do not have arresting authority or policing powers here. Immigration enforcement preparations are already underway, including sending armored vehicles to Chicago in the coming days. While protests are expected, they're asking that residents do not obstruct federal agents or the National Guard while exercising their rights. He said any communication between CPD and the National Guard would be helpful.
We keep us safe. We keep us safe.
Alderman Anthony Napolitano told me he disagrees that Chicagoans can keep themselves safe and welcomes the National Guard.
We have to do something in order to show we're trying every avenue to make Chicago a better place. It just can't be no, you're not coming here because we don't like you politically. That's not the way it should be.
He and the rest of City Council were briefed in small groups on the plans today. Public Safety Committee member Alderman Chris Taliaferro told me he wasn't shocked by any of the plans and feels confident with Chicago's preparedness.
We are not an arm of the federal agency, and so I believe our superintendent has taken the right approach to ensure that residents of the city are protected at all times.
And the city also said they would not assist in the dismantling of any encampments for the unhoused, as we saw earlier this month in D.C.
Right.
And just in the last hour, we heard from Governor Pritzker's office. He said they still haven't heard anything about this.
Interesting. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens between now and the 5th, so thank you for that.
Language is very interesting, right? Encampments for the unhoused. I hope you are familiar with the famous book by George Orwell, right, 1984. It's often quoted. And one of the ideas is this idea of newspeak, where basically the propaganda machine will take things that take words that mean one thing and flip the word around so that it means something else, or if the word had a negative connotation, the word has a positive connotation. Or if it has a negative connotation, they'll switch it around so that they'll replace it with another word to take the bite out of the word, so to speak, or the sting out of the word. I'll give you a perfect example. World War II veterans, World War I veterans used to be, when they came home from wars, and they had all type of mental issues and problems as a result of the traumatic events that they saw and experienced, they would say that these guys were shell-shocked. Okay? And the meaning is quite obvious, right? From the shelling, the bombing, the noises, the things they saw on the battlefield. The term used was shell-shocked. That guy's shell-shocked. It's the same in boxing, if you think, right? They use the term punch drunk. You never hear that anymore, right? A boxer that is losing his cognitive abilities, he starts slurring his speech, right? After years of combat, taking blows to the head. They used to say, that guy is punch drunk. So now it's viewed as a derogatory phrase to use, and it's the same as shell-shocked. You will never hear the term shell-shocked, although it conveyed exactly what it was meant to convey, which is the horror and the deplorability of a lot of these unnecessary conflicts and wars. Shell-shocked is something that you definitely don't want to be. So what would be the newspeak version if that was in the book 1984? Well, it would be what we use today, PTSD. Right? Sums up everything, and it kind of takes the sting off it. Like, oh, he has PTSD. Right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. You see? It sounds more civilized, if you will, when we really don't want something like that to sound civilized. And this is what goes on. So now, instead of calling it what it is, the homeless, it's unhoused. You see, to try to make it, to make it softer in its effect mentally. Another thing too about this broadcast was that they said that that Trump was sending the troops for an immigration enforcement action, but then they have the protesters chanting, "We keep us safe," which it makes it sound like it's two different things going on. One is for immigration, ICE enforcement, and then "we keep us safe" sounds almost like the purpose of the troops to come is to make the streets safer, basically. So there's a little bit confusion in the way that it was presented. As far as the "we keep us safe" idea, I'm not exactly sure what is meant by that, because it can't mean It can't possibly be that they keep the streets of Chicago safe because everyone in the country, well, by now, it's everybody in the world knows about every single shooting that happens in Chicago. You know, everybody knows about these these statistics. So for instance, this is just for July, right? Just in July alone, just a couple of weekends in July, right? Not for the whole year. I think there's already 262 homicides. But not to beat that dead horse, but July 28th, that weekend, 21 shot in Chicago. July 13th, at least 21 shot, 3 fatally, and weekend gun violence across Chicago. July 5th, at least 44 people shot, right? Celebrating July 4th weekend. So the number has to be up, of course, right? The holiday. And then in June 22nd, first weekend of summer, at least 23 shot. So this idea that we keep us safe, I'm not sure exactly what that is referring to. But I don't want people to be distracted by this idea also, this constant nonsense with this left, right, Democrat, Republican, blue, red. It's like if you can't see that it's all the same thing, right? And it's just merely a flip side of the same coin, right? You take a quarter out your pocket, you have heads and tails. It's the same coin. Okay, it's just heads on one side, tails on the other, but the coin is the same. It's the same. It's all the same. It's just that most people, right, aka the masses, are too stupid to realize the game that is being played. Right, the pendulum just swings back and forth, right? Constantly keep people fighting against each other. So they give you an icon, they give you somebody to focus all your energy on. So, Donald Trump, right? He's evil. He's this. He's that. Right? In 2016, that's what it was. Right? Donald Trump is bad. This and that. Blah 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 blah. Right? He's gonna bring the slavery back. It's Donald Trump. We want Biden in, right? Biden comes in. Now half the country's happy. The other half is mad, and they're mad about the liberals and liberals this, liberals that. Right? All these people are invested in the same companies. They all get insider stock, inside trade information. They're all very wealthy. It's not like the liberals are broke and the conservatives are rich. No, they're both rich on each side. They're both invested in the same companies and stuff. This game that we're playing with this liberal, Democrat, Republican, conservative game, these stupid arguments we have over people arguing over what a woman is and is the earth flat? There's racism everywhere. This is all a dog and pony show. While you fritter your life away arguing over things that do not exist. You're wasting time, right? Instead of focusing on your purpose, you arguing, looking for racism under every rock, being extremely susceptible to all type of hoaxes, like the Jussie Smollett situation. Right now he's turned the hoax into a Netflix special. Now you're not understanding that these people, whether they're black, male or female, that at certain levels they're all together. There's an allegiance to something greater than race, than the sisterhood, if you will. There's an allegiance greater than all of that. and it includes black people, Asian people. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what ethnicity and all of that stuff you're from. And unfortunately, the masses are easily tricked, easily led astray, right, by someone that looks just like them. And that's nobody's fault but your own. Right? You buy into, oh, he looks like me, therefore he has my best interest in heart. And then that's how you wind up getting heartbroken. That's how you end up getting deceived. Right? You follow this person because they're speaking out against the men. Right? Haven't you ever heard of just, controlled opposition? They'll get somebody that looks just like you, and they'll allow them to say certain things and look like they're speaking out in your behalf and all this stuff like that. Have you ever thought why this person is telling you how bad it is in this country? How you can't make it, how all the odds are stacked up against you, right? How there's systematic racism everywhere and holding you back and all this stuff. But meanwhile, that person is multi-millionaire. That person living in a mansion, all this stuff. This person that claims to be so against his country, I wonder what color his doctor is. What color are his lawyers, his attorneys, his business managers, his secretary, right? All those people need jobs. Those are all high-paying jobs, right? That'll let you really know what's going on. But you fall susceptible to any kind of hoax and psyop that's put out there. I'm gonna show you another one real quick. But like I said, this thing with this Trump coming into these cities and all that stuff. Like if it was anybody else, if it was Obama or Biden, the program brainwashed masses would be like, that happened to subscribe to that ideology would be like, oh, this is great, protecting our streets. Like, who doesn't want safer streets? But we also know that is also used as a pretext for other things also, aka military operations. So we're not stupid, right? Because you put enough fear in the people, then they're screaming for the government to come save them at some point. But that's a different topic altogether. I want to talk about these hoaxes. All right. So by now we've all heard of this situation. So of course, everybody turns it immediately to like a racial situation, and they just go right there because that's what the PSYOP program has done over all these years, especially in America. That's why, a lot of people sometimes come to this country and they're like shocked because it's like they weren't raised on the American propaganda machine. They have their own propaganda machine, especially if they're coming from Eastern Bloc countries and things like that. And believe me, it's worldwide, the propaganda, but, certain countries, ramp up propaganda in like different areas, right? In America, the really big one, or the biggest one rather, is the race hustle. So any type of interaction that it's extreme too. Any type of interaction between black and white has to be pushed to the max. So if it's a negative interaction, it's just racism, right? That's what it can't be. It can't just be two athletes and one of them being a sore loser and just getting a little emotional and just being mad that they lost. Right? Because say if it was two black athletes and that happened, people would just be like, yeah, she's a sore loser and she's just having an outburst, and that wouldn't have been brought up. But since the one player happens to be white, that's like the first go-to. And you can read comments all online like, oh, look how she was pointing at her. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was trying to put the black woman in her place and blah, blah, blah. And then the other side predictably says, but she handled it like a queen and she showed class and did all of that. And that's another doctrine of weakness that for some reason many black people adhere to is this whole being humble, turning the other cheek, taking all kind of abuse. That's programming too. You've been programmed to march and sing hymns. Meanwhile, other groups of people are teaching their children how to fight and be strong when necessary. Like, you think that it's some type of badge of honor that somebody talked crazy to you and you just humbly accepted it and walked away. Now, am I saying crash out like an idiot? Of course not. Even though this happens also. That's a different subject. But what I'm saying is that, to me, I hear that too many times, that, oh, they took the high road, or they were humble in this situation and this and that. Right? Sometimes you need to call people out. There's nothing wrong with standing up for yourself. See, that comes from that old time preaching and, looking up to the heavens and stuff like that. And, and you feel that you don't have any choice. And I can understand why those old black people, like the old slaves and people, did that, right? They were severely outnumbered. There was nothing they could do. So when the abuse came, they had no choice but to, maintain, because something worse would happen to them, right? They're severely outnumbered. If you're surrounded by 10 guys and one of them talking crazy to you, it'd be a bad decision to pick that moment that you're gonna make a stand. And unless if you don't want to get down, if you don't care about getting out safely, right? But a lot of people carry that mentality into situations where it's not needed, especially one-on-one situations. Okay, under the disguise of being humble and all of this stuff like that, right? There's nothing wrong with being strong. Strong doesn't mean being disrespectful, right? Being nasty, right? You can be strong, you can be assertive, right? So, again, this situation, I feel, again, blowing out of proportion. Why? Is because there's a race element. In America, we have special racism with seasoning and spices. We love racism in America. Any type of conflict, we ready to jump on it. And right now, there's a lot of micro racism because, or at least accusations of micro racism, because racism has actually, these outright acts of racism have declined so much that a lot of people have to look for instances of racism. So you'll hear people saying, "Oh, they looked at me the wrong way," or they judged, and they judged me. When I came into the store, the clerk looked at me the wrong way. I could tell he was racist, right? And I'm like, man, that's amazing. Like, you can read minds now. Now you know by how that person looked at you that they're racist. That's incredible. How that person looked at you, they don't like your hair. That's incredible. You can read minds. You develop this power to read minds. But on a serious note, I would say that is a terrible way to live your life, under this paranoia, thinking that every single action, right, every negative event that happens to you is because of some type of racism, racial boogeyman, whether it's from one individual, right? And then when you can't find an individual that actually did anything to you, it's the system, right? The system is the boogeyman, because the system just covers everything, covers life. And it absolves you completely for taking any responsibility in your life. But again, let's get back to this situation. So with this particular situation, of course, it turned into a big firestorm on social media and everything like that. But listen, here's the bottom line of it. Understand, it's like any other sport. It's entertainment at the end of the day. And believe me, the way it works is this. You're trying to make money. You're trying to sell out these stadiums, right? These venues. You're trying to get people to watch on television. Why is that? So that the sponsors can advertise their goods, and in turn, people will go and buy those goods, right? You're the working class. That's what they want you to do, is watch, okay, and see their advertisements. They want you to ask your doctor, right? They advertise you all the different meds, advertise you the weight loss medication, advertise you with, new cars, all that stuff. But in order for you to see that, you have to be watching, okay? In order for you to watch the event has to be entertaining, right? There's a lot of people that don't really watch tennis like that, but now that this happened, they're like, oh, I got to see the next match. I got to see Taylor Townsend in her next match. And then, believe me, when they play again, they're going to bring this right back out. They're going to show the footage. Oh, these guys have bad blood. They have rivalry. Okay? These are like old tactics, man. They're just trying to make money at the end of the day. It's pure entertainment. It's pure entertainment. Everybody's laughing to the bank, man. You caught up thinking, oh, is it racism? They laughing to the bank. It's like that in every sport. It's like when Ali used to talk about Joe Frazier, right? Now we could say he crossed the line a little bit, right? He was calling Joe Frazier gorilla and all type of stuff like that. You too ugly, right? Calling the gorilla and Manila and all kind of crazy stuff. Imagine if Muhammad Ali was Jerry Quarry, right? Or another boxer you might know, Jerry Cooney. Imagine Jerry Cooney was calling Joe Frazier or Larry Holmes a gorilla. Remember when Jerry Cooney, you older people out there, Jerry Cooney and Larry Holmes fought? Imagine if Jerry Cooney was calling Larry Holmes a gorilla. All the race hustlers in America would have been out there protesting. But it was all right. Cause Muhammad Ali to call Joe Frazier gorilla. Everybody just laughed. It was funny. So it just shows you how bogus it is. And really what it's about. It's just about making money, right? See, a black person call another black person nigga is like, okay, there's no money to be made in that. Calling a black person something derogatory, there's no money to be made in it. So you have to have the color involved, right? If that was Taylor Townsend and Serena Williams, right, it would have just been like, okay, Serena is a sore loser. Whoever lost, right? They're just a sore loser. They're just mad. Blah. They would have called him a hater, whatever. And it'd have been a little rivalry, right? It would have been a little rivalry, but it wouldn't have been, not that much. But when you have the race element, right? Because the people in the country already pre-programmed to respond to that. Everybody's eyes on the situation, right? So you should be able to tell from all these years of experience, like when you're being manipulated, you've already been indoctrinated. You need to break out of that, but you got to see the race hustling and manipulation, and this happens on both sides, right? The white people being manipulated too. Right? The white people think that, it's hard out here being white. Whiteness is being put down and stuff like that, right? That's what they're being told. But it's all done on purpose. I wonder who's doing this stuff, right? You ever watch TV? You watch TV, they always have to have the interracial couple right on the commercial. When's the last time you saw a commercial with just like a white dude, white wife, and a white child, right? It always has to be some kind of mixture of the family, the white parent, two white parents, but the kid is black, a black dude, white woman, I haven't seen, point it out to me, drop it in the comment box. Have you seen a commercial with a white dude and black woman as the wife or partner? Let me know. Right? So it's all propaganda, this idea, white men being attacked and stuff like that. The purpose is very simple to all of this stuff, is to always stir the pot. You always stir the pot, right? Because you can't have the people, You can't have the masses be united ever, right? It's just too many. It's too many people, right? There's only a limited amount of elite. That's why they're elite. It's a very small amount of those people that have all this money. Like when money is no object, all that type of stuff. There's a very small amount of people. Those people are at the very top. Those people you'll be lucky if you could find them in the Google search, anything about them. Right? Then, the people that we actually see, these celebrities and stuff like that, right? They're working for, people that we don't see. They're giving political agendas and things to say and stuff like that, I remember the Trayvon Martin situation with LeBron and all the basketball players, right? They had the hoodies on and all that stuff like that. You think they came up with that idea? Or were they just handed the script like, hey, you guys are going to push this agenda, the Black Lives Matter and all the stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? It's all a game, So like with this situation right here, it's just another opportunity to make more money, right? Keep the people divided on the issue, right? Until the next event happens. Because the thing is the phenomenon is taking place with the with the rapid increase in technology and TikToks and stuff like that. The attention span, especially the new generations, getting cooked because we're so used to this rapid gratification. Right, so you have all these, right? So you can't watch a full YouTube video. Now you need a short video. You need TikToks and YouTube Shorts and quick stuff on Facebook, so you could just keep scrolling. Like, and things have to happen quick. Right, your movies are worse than ever. Right, it's just throwing them at you. Like all of these, Tubi, Maverick, Amazon Prime, Netflix. They're just throwing a lot of this quick, easy oven baked movies at you where you don't really have to think that much. Just a lot of action, a lot of times. Low IQ, you don't got to really think about nothing, right? You watch Fast and Furious Part 10, those type of movies. Whereas, Liam Neeson movies, right? It's basically like, hey, the governor's daughter's been kidnapped. You got 24 hours to rescue her. That's the plot, And that's it. You sit back and there's a bunch of car chase scenes, some shootouts, and then he rescues her at the end, and that's it. To the next one. Okay. So back to this situation though, like I said, it's just propaganda 101, right? Get the people all riled up, keep you riled up, keep you constantly in that state. It's like keep you in a stressful state. If you don't see it for what it is, that's what it'll do to you. It constantly keep you paranoid. Like, oh, there's racism everywhere and this and that, right? And the women, they have something for them too. When it's just, there'll be women. That's why they have this whole women versus men stuff. That's all propaganda. The blue pill, red pill, all that stuff. That's all propaganda, man. Man versus women. This girl, oh, they for the streets, this and that. It's always been like that. There's nothing new. It's just that with social media, it's more broadcast now. It's not that more women are for the streets. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's always going to be a certain percentage of people that's quote unquote for the streets. Right? But now you have this whole man versus women thing. So now it's like, it creates this awkward situation where men are scared to talk to women, right? They don't want to get in trouble. They women are like, oh, these guys are creeps, this and that. That's all propaganda, man. All conditioning, all propaganda. But anyway, I'm like rambling on a little bit. Back to this situation, man, with this tennis thing. Like I said, it's all about increasing engagement. Right, I'm talking about it right now. I'm sure there's a lot of other YouTubers talking about it. News outlets, all type of stuff. Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff is engaging in all of this stuff because it has a white person and black person involved. The same that happened with that high school stabbing, right? That's conveniently, that's out the news cycle now, right? There was all this outrage. There was all this outrage, right? With the black kid stabbed the white kid, right, at the high school track meet. What happened to that? Now it's just disappeared from the media cycle, because at the end of the day, and this is a harsh thing to say, but it's real. Nobody cares. If it's not your family, not your immediate, relations, nobody really cares like that. It's just another news story. And unfortunately, it's like that because we're so desensitized to violence and things like that. Like I said, we've been programmed for a long time. We've been seeing, you got to understand, if you've been watching television or movies, you've been programmed for the last 30, 40 years, like, and you're used to seeing violence. You're used to seeing gunplay. Yes, you know logically, yeah, it's not real, but the images in your mind, the images are there. So it's kind of like you're desensitized to that, right? When you heard about the first like mass shootings and stuff like that, it's like, oh my God, what's going on? Now it's just like, you're like, man, another one. Now you might not even click on the video. You might be like, what? You might look at it without clicking on it. You know what I'm saying? You be like, what? This happened? Like, okay. Like, you so desensitized at this point. And it's the same thing with a lot of stuff. Like, oh, another racial situation. It's so much, it's so over the top that it's like you should be able to tell that it's intentional, it's programmed. It's just like with this story that came out. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just show you instead of tell you. I'm gonna show you another example.
Congratulations, fiery match start to finish. We'll get to it all. Can you fill us in on the conversation you were having with Yelena out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's competition. People get upset when they lose, and you can't. Some people say bad things. She told me I have no class, I have no education, and to see what happens when we get outside the U.S. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I beat her in Canada outside the U.S. I beat her in New York outside the U.S. So let's see what else she has to say.
5-3, won 9 straight games. What changed for you?
New York is
Honestly,
in the U.S.
I just
by
walked
the way.
I mean, she was playing really well at the beginning, and when she was playing well, I didn't say anything, and so that just shows class. I mean, sometimes people are playing too good, and you have to just take it. But I turned it up another level, and that's what I'm most proud of today.
Fire from the crowd as well. What did this crowd, we saw it in your first round as well, give you today?
Yeah, I mean, I love this crowd so much, and they were cheering for me from start to finish, even when Alana was playing well, and the crowd was cheering for her too. I mean, she was hitting some amazing shots. But this is what I live for. I love this city. I love New York. I love the people, so I'm looking forward to another round.
Thank you.
So again, people took that, and like I said, and that's great. Again, that's great propaganda, and took that and turned it into a turned into like racial situation. Like I said with the Larry Holmes, Jerry Cooney example, right? Jerry Cooney was marketed as, guess what? The Great White Hope, right? Because there hadn't been any white heavyweight champions for a long time, right? You had Marciano, back in the 50s. And before that, I think you had like Jeffries or something like that, Jim Jeffries. But again, the racial marketing has always been used. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of it? It's to draw people in, to get you. It's basically playing on your vices, right? You're addicted to racism, so it's like we're gonna use this to get you interested. And that's what it is. So you have a guy like Jerry Cooney, right? He's a white guy, right? He's an ironworker, Irish guy, and then you have him against the black guy, right? So all the blacks want to watch, all the whites want to watch, just like with Joe Louis, right? And who is going laughing? All the promoters and venues are laughing to the bank, at the end of the day. And that's how it is. While you caught up, while you catching real feelings, while you catching real feelings and angry and stuff like that, this is what's going on. People are just laughing, laughing to the bank.
George Foreman every day in the week, right. But the fools still think that chump Joe Frazier can beat me because he went the distance twice and it ended up on a close decision. I'm going to give him a real whooping, and I wrote a poem. Some of you heard it, but this is a little conscience. I got a little gorilla here. This is his conscience. I keep him right in my pocket everywhere I go. Right there. And I wrote a short poem. It says it will be a killer and a thriller and a killer when I get the gorilla in Manila. That's right. And I got his conscience right here to keep me on guard. See, here's the way he looks when you hit him. All night, that's all he's gonna be. All night in Malaysia. That's all you're gonna see. The Philippines, rather. Come on, gorilla, we in Manila. Come on, gorilla, this is a thriller. I told.
All right, so there you have it. And I just want you to imagine, if Ali, was a white guy and he was saying that, right? There would be all this outrage and bogus outrage. I call it fake outrage. You could say he crossed the line, whatever. That's your opinion. But at the end of the day, people came in and watched, and that's all it was. They just trying to make money. He might have crossed the line. It's just like when Conor McGregor was going to fight Habib, right? A few years ago. Conor McGregor crossed the lines, talking about the guy's family, all type of stuff, right? Now, of course, do most people think that was wrong? Of course. But he was trying to get the most engagement, the most views, right? And basically make the most money that he could make. Now, of course, I'm not saying everything should be about money, but what I'm saying to some people it is, right? And when it comes to these people that are elite, that's really all they care about, no matter what the expense, right? So pushing these conflicts, pushing the racism all the time, right? These people are actors, man. Pushing these people out there, the Donald Trumps of the world, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, it's all the same. It's all the same. It's all the same club, man. People are so deceived. They think that just because the president changes, that somehow their fortunes are gonna change drastically. Man, these people that are millionaires before Trump got elected, they're still millionaires. People struggling before Trump got elected are still struggling, right? Because at the end of the day, if you have the means and and have the mentality, to take the opportunities that are offered in this country, it doesn't matter which administration is in office. All right, it doesn't matter which administration is in office. I got my MBA when Barack Obama was in office, but did it matter that he was in office or not? You think I was like, you know what? Wait till there's a black president before I decide that I'm gonna try to become successful. When I became an iron worker, all right, union iron worker. Who was president? George Bush was president. Again, don't matter. Doesn't matter who's in office. I didn't need a quote unquote black leader to come and tell me like, hey, you can make it. On the contrary, he's telling you can't make it. It's so much systematic racism holding you back, and slavery and Jim Crow, and all the cops are after you. They're saying that because it makes them money. I want you to look at it like this with the race hustle, right? We always say this about medicine, right? That these companies can make more money by treating the illness than actually prescribing the cure. And we know that is a fact. What we don't know for sure is if they actually have the cures to some of these things or not. They might not, but we don't know that, right, definitively. But we do know, and we can say that it will make you more money to just treat an illness for 30, 40 years, right? Than just outright cure it. Because once you cure it, you lose the customer. It has no need. Imagine you're driving a car and your tires, right, were made out of this special rubber that didn't wear out for, let's say, 20 years. Imagine having tires for 20 years. What would that do to the tire industry? They won't be able to make any money. So it's more beneficial for them to have tires that, they wear out after, 60,000 miles or something like that, right? And it's the same with the medicine, right? If everything was cured, right, then, or curable rather, you could just take the cure and that's it. No need for medicine. No need for certain pharmaceuticals. All right? It's the same with the racism, the race hustlers. If you become convinced that you're being sold a bill of goods and that these things really do not exist, all right, there's no need for their leadership, air quotes, right? There's no need for their guidance. There's no need for Ben Crump to come every time there's some type of racial situation that happens. Or Al Sharpton from back in the days. Or Jesse Jackson. There's no need. See, when you understand that hate is just a human condition, then you understand it's something that will always be. It always will exist. Nobody needs to come and point that out to you. People will not like you just because they clash with your personality. No matter what the color. You could be in a neighborhood with all people that look like you, and people still gonna fight. People still gonna kill each other, steal from each other, sleep with each other's wives. You're gonna have the same issues no matter what race is mixed with the other race or what have you. And people are so closed-minded that they don't realize this. You can have a bunch of white people together. All the white people, they kill each other too. We've seen this throughout the World War I, World War II. What more do you need to see? You had Catholics fighting Catholics fighting Protestants for years and years. Going to war. Wars in England. Wars in Ireland. Like Irish, English fighting each other. Spain fighting England. Like these things happen. People that look like each other fighting each other. It always will be an issue that humans will come up with to fight each other. If you had only white people on this planet, eventually they will be fighting over, it'd be the people with brunette hair versus people with blonde hair. Or the blue-eyed people will be fighting the people that had brown eyes. Or the redheads will be fighting. It'll be something eventually. Just like you'll see blacks fighting each other in Africa, things like that. That's why I say racism is a myth. It's just a human condition. So what these people are doing, they're just making money off the human condition. So they're basically saying, listen, I'm here. They're basically like the prescription, the medicine. Like, hey, use me anytime there's a racial situation. Just pay me this money. I'll go out there and I'll talk about it. And I'll do a little march, I'll do a little song and dance and make you feel better. And you feel like that I'm on it, that I'm making sure this doesn't get out of hand. And then you see this person, living well, millions of dollars, all stuff like that. Right? Meanwhile, all that person is just a controlled opposition. Anyway, I digress. Back to Ali here. So you see Ali, right, with the whole guerrilla comments and stuff like that, right, trying to sell his fight, which of course he did sell. But like I said, imagine the outrage there would be, or fake outrage, if he was a white guy saying that. Like I said, imagine gentleman Jerry Cooney saying that to Larry Holmes, that he gonna beat up the gorilla, right? Shout out to Rhythm Boxing for this footage right here. Just to confirm, this is about the Larry Holmes, Jerry Cooney fight angle.
Against Ken Norton.
For those of you who don't know boxing, Jerry Cooney is the one with the green trunks, the white guy, on left of your screen. That is Kenny Norton, you know, near the end of his career, getting KO'd.
The promotion for the fight was centered almost entirely around the racial angle.
You've heard us continually throughout the evening refer to Jerry as the Great White Hope.
Well, personally, I take exception to the tag Great White Hope. It's a stereotype. Jerry is nobody's hope but his own.
Don King was all too happy to pile on.
Larry Holmes is the greatest heavyweight in the world today. We begged, literally begged to fight Cooney, and we're still willing and ready and able to fight Cooney.
Not to mention Cooney's managers, who gave one facepalm-worthy press conference after another.
It's an insult when people say, well, he's a white hope or a good white fighter. He's not a good white fighter. He's a great heavyweight fighter.
The end of Jerry's career, he never goes more than 2 rounds. Thank the Lord, and we'll be very happy. It'll prove that he's the greatest fighter of all time. Let the cynics ask the same questions when he's heavyweight champion of the world, because that's his destiny, the championship of the world.
Larry Holmes started getting death threats. The racial tension was purposely brought to a boil to sell a fight.
Larry getting ready to
see Jesse
out.
Jackson in the back. It's Jesse Jackson right here. They all in place.
And Larry blowing a kiss to all of you who are watching.
Keep hope alive.
But inside, you gotta know that he has a normal human being's normal doubts, and maybe even fears. And the same, of course, is totally true of Jerry Cooney.
So you get the point. Again, the seller fight, right? Do those guys that saying all that stuff, do they really believe, you know, and all of that? Like, oh, it's, you know, no. They're saying, they're just doing that to get that arena packed. You see how many people there for that fight? That place is packed, sold out. Right, and then that doesn't even include everybody watching on television. At the time, they had, you know, cable and stuff like that, closed circuit television, things like that. But that's what it's all about. And if you could just understand that and take that from sports, because it's easier to point out in sports. That's why I use the example with the tennis, with the boxing and stuff like that. It's easier to point out in sports. Right? People have harder time seeing it in politics. So when I started off the video, it was with the whole Trump thing and all that, and the community leaders coming out and, oh, we don't want him here, like all this stuff like that. That's just smoke and mirrors. Right? Those people out there so they can be seen. So basically it's not about moving anything forward or doing anything positive. It's basically, oh, we don't like him, so we're just going to be against anything that he does. You ever turn to a political station, like, say, let's use CNN, you're right, famous example, and Fox News. Let's use those two, because those are the two major news networks that promote this whole red and blue agenda, right? But let's look at it. You ever notice how the one, right, CNN that's mostly left-leaning, right, when Biden was in office, they never criticized anything that side of the political party did. And I'm really reserved on saying that side, because again, I believe it's the same thing, but it's made to look as if there's two sides, some kind of duality for us. It's really the same thing, but it's a show for us, you know, that, and we go through the ritual every 4 years. That's what it is, right? To make it seem like we have all this say in what's going on and things like that, you know. And like I said, it's great. Appreciate it. Okay? But let's look at it for what it is. All right? So when you have CNN, you know, they, you know, on the left side of things, right? They have their core audience. So all they're doing is making sure they cater to that. They're like, hey, we're going to pick the left side. You think they care really about left and right? No. They care about making money. So they're just going to appeal to one extreme. Why is it that they need to appeal to an extreme? Because that's what makes money. See, if you just go straight down the middle and try to be reasonable, it's not entertaining enough. Right? This is why you have good and bad guys, and say, let's again using sports analogy, this is why you have good and bad guys in wrestling. Nobody remembers like what did Vince McMahon call Bob Backlund? He said milk toast. I remember Bob Backlund, right? I'm old enough to remember. Bob Backlund was like kind of like what you would call, I guess, like all-American apple pie type American, like come off like that, right? He didn't really have like a charismatic part. He was just like a good, hard-working guy, like good wrestler, right? Girls would say that's just a nice guy, right? What they call the nice guy, air quotes, right? Good dude, but you know, come across a good dude, upstanding, right? Not too exciting, right? He was skilled and all of that. He's probably one of the best wrestlers they ever had. But as far as like the money making aspect, you know, is this the guy you want to go with? And that's what Vince made that decision where he was like, you know, we need a superstar, like a guy that's gonna, you know, get the crowd really into it one way or another. So they got Hulk Hogan, right? So Hulk Hogan had that charisma, you know, whether you like him or not and all that stuff, you know, again with these stupid labels and all that, but he had the charisma, he had the drawing power, stuff like that, and that can't be taken away. Right? Hulkamania, Running Wild, he was coming out with albums, but the point I'm making is that he was placed on an extreme. So the extreme, the part where he was placed on the scale was that he was a good guy. He wasn't in the middle. He was like his character was, you know, at the beginning was the good guy, right? He's the all-American, right? He had that song, I am a real American. Go up, look up Hulk Hogan's song, fighting for the rights of every man. So his whole image, you know, in those days was based upon like I'm all American, and if you see the whole video, it shows a lot of like American, you know, real pro-American images, you know, like the soldiers, right, the flag in the background, shows pictures of, you know, like Martin Luther King, like different leaders, you know, in American history and stuff like that. So he was like on that extreme. It wasn't like he was just like just a regular dude. Like they always had to put you on the extreme. And if you're a bad guy, if you're gonna sell tickets, right, aka the heel, if you're gonna sell tickets, then you have to be really bad. You can't just like kind of be like in the middle. You gotta be really bad, right? So you had those guys like, you know, you had like the Iron Sheik, right? He was like the mean, you know, Iranian guy, and what again, playing on what the political sentiments of the day. What you have going on, right? You had, you know, conflicts in the Middle East as always. So you had to have the mean, you know, Iranian guy, right? And he played his part, right? You had to have the evil Russian guy, right? You had Nikolai Volkov, right? You had Ivan Koloff, guys like that. You had to have the exaggerated stereotypes. It couldn't just be, you know, like some regular, you know, level-headed guy. That's not how it works. And it's the same way with the media. In order for a station to really get viewers and engagement, the stories have to be blockbuster stories. It has to be something that's gonna really polarize the people. That's why you have networks that they're gonna lean into something. Like, okay, this is a left-leaning network. Of course, they're not going to tell you that because it would undermine their quote-unquote credibility. They can't tell you, hey, we're leaning left. What they're going to do is tell you in an advertisement that the news is fair and balanced. Of course, everybody's going to say that. We're doing our best just to get the story to you, right? Stuff like that. And they'll put a suit and tie who's trained to influence the people, who has some charisma, good looking, right, can control the masses, right? Just like the Ozzy Osbourne song Crazy Train, one of the lyrics goes, is a person conditioned to rule and control. The media sells it, you live the role. The person that's conditioned to rule and control is that anchor person that you trust every night to give you that news, right? That, you know, like those old school anchors, remember, like Ted Koppel, right? He can't be lying, right? It's Ted Koppel, Walter Cronkite, all of these guys, right? You're supposed to, Brian Jennings, right? They put those guys there because they had the talent and their ability, right, to come across as believable, credible, etc. And they put those guys in front, so the network can be leaning left or right. But if that guy tells you, hey, it's balanced, or comes across as, hey, I'm just telling the truth here, a lot of people gonna believe it. Okay, and this is why a lot of those guys' reputation was fiercely protected. Can't have nothing bad coming out about Walter Cronkite or Tom Brokaw, something like that during the heyday, or Wolf Blitzer. Everything has to be on the up and up. You can't undermine the credibility. So in order for them to sell, right, to get you to watch, because why do they want you to watch? Because the advertisers will give them more money, right? If they have 20 million viewers, at 8 p.m. for, whatever show every night, the advertisers will pay exorbitant amount of money to get their, detergent, get their, workout, gear, whatever they want to advertise on that slot. And that's all the networks care about. So if they gotta lean all the way to the left and just secure that audience every night, that's what they're gonna do. So all the news is gonna be skewed in that way. Right? There's certain principles that lie with that side. And again, it's the same thing. It's just a flip side of the coin. Just like you have negative and positive. Right? It's not that one is good, one is bad. It's like energy. The end of the day is energy, but it's okay. One it's going in one direction, this is going the other direction. So those networks gonna lean left. So they're gonna espouse those type of things. The quote unquote progressive, whatever, the transgender ideologies, right? The LGBTQ or in plus this and that ideology, right? They're gonna have that going on. And they're gonna push that, and then they're gonna put it in contrast against the other side, right? The other force, right? Which is, the more conservative side and family values and tradition, and that's what's gonna get you to watch. It's just like putting two heavyweight boxes, two boxes up against each other. That's gonna get you to watch, because they're gonna put their apologists right for that view. This is Professor such and such from blah, blah, blah university. And they're going to tell you how a woman cannot really be defined because blah, blah, blah. And study, and they're going to say studies, right? The studies are, of course, bogus, and funded by, people that's going to support. Like, it's all set up. Like I said, it's like a show. But you being the masses, you're going to get convinced. You're going to be like, yeah, this is right. You're going to be caught up in it. You're going to get emotionally invested. And you're going to waste your time instead of fulfilling your purpose and going all out with the time that God gave you on this earth. Be the absolute best that you can be at whatever it is that God has placed on your heart. You're going to get caught up in the emotional roller coaster of the media and watching and engaging, and then being sat in front of, these advertisements. Right? So that's what they do. It's all about engagement. It's not that they care about it's racism, this and that, or Trump or this and that. Trump is gonna get engagement. Everything that he does is gonna get engagement. It's about entertainment. Well, it's really about money, but the entertainment factor, and the entertainment could be good or bad. Right, so when I say entertainment, I don't mean like, it's all good. Like reporting on, how come you think the news always tells you about like shootings and stuff like that in the neighborhood? Because of the entertainment value, right? So entertainment is good and bad. That's bad news, right? But people are gonna watch. They want to know what happened. How come you think shows like Dateline are so popular? because it's entertaining, right? I always wondered, like, what type of people will sit up there and talk about, like how their loved ones got knocked off, like on national TV, and go into all, like, be sitting there. Just, you ever think about that? They sitting up there reliving a super painful memory, right? The case is closed, the person been sentenced, whatever, what have you. But they gonna get up there on national TV and relive the experience and talk about, the horrific stuff. Have photos shown. Yeah, they put the little smudge marks, this and that, but they, you still see the person's hand or the feet or whatever like that. How come you think all those shows are popular? And there's tons of them. Snapped. I can't even name all the shows. I doesn't know Dateline. There's like Paula's on. They got Playboy got one, like I think it's Playboy Murders. Right? There's a lot of them. Women are big fans of them shows too, I think, more than men are. But again, not to get off on tangent, it's about the entertainment. And once you realize that, you can break free of these hustles, man, and not be walking around looking like a menace in society because you think racism is under every rock. They just programming you. You just programmed. Get that zombie chip out of your head. And Fox News is doing the same thing, but just on the other side of the coin. Right? The same thing. But so they're gonna, espouse, conservative issues, right? We're gonna talk about the, single motherhood and broken families and all this stuff like that. Right? Basically beating a dead horse. Because those of us with a brain know that it takes a village to raise a child, and there's a good reason for that saying. Okay, how you gonna work? How you gonna be working a full-time job and then raising the kid properly? Of course, it's not gonna happen. That's why you need your family. That's why family is important. Cause family makes it easier to raise the next generation. Who's gonna pass on the wisdom and experience to the kid? If it's not the parents, it's gonna be the state. You already know how that's gonna go. So my message today is stop falling for the gimmicks. Stop looking for racism under every rock. Stop using the labels. Realize it's just a human condition. People gonna hate. You could go on Twitter, people gonna say crazy stuff. They can be like, oh, they're gonna show pictures of, black people looking like monkeys and stuff. You're gonna have people say stuff like that. You that sensitive that you gonna crash out over that? Now everybody in the country, the country's racist because somebody posted something like that up. The shame is if you let any kind of nonsense like that stop you from what you're supposed to be doing. That's the whole thing, is keep it moving. Understand also a lot of that stuff that's on, Twitter, all stuff, Facebook, all stuff, a lot of that stuff is fake profiles, robots. Stuff is there to get you to engage, to get you to feel a certain way, to control your emotions. To have you looking in a certain direction where the action is in over there in another direction. So now you distracted. You on the internet, typing, free Diddy or free, you know what I mean? Like, free this person, right? Like, you don't even know who that person is. And if the roles were reversed, they wouldn't be typing anything about you. They wouldn't say nothing. But you there, free this person, free, do this, do that. Right? Because you brainwashed. All right, that's it for this video. I've covered a lot of different things. I went on little tangents here and there, but like I said, I love discussing these type of incidents and going into these whole race hustle things. Like I said, because now for some reason, man, people is so desperate to find like a racial incident or some, It's either racism, sexism, misogyny, right? Homophobia, transphobia. It's some kind of label. People can't wait to use these labels, man. You know, and it's just like, it's so stupid. Like I said, it's almost like there's the way I look at it, it's like you have the very elite on the top, and then of course you have the people that's under them that are very wealthy also, right? I believe the first level, you don't even see those people. They're like out of the media, all that stuff like that. Then when you get down to the people that you see in the media, like, you know, actors and celebrities, that's like really far down. You know what I mean, on the totem pole. But they there to work for the elite. You know what I mean? So if you wonder why your rap music sound like it does, like, I'm talking about the commercialized stuff that's constantly played, things like that. You wonder why it's you know, it's like that. Again, it all boils down to the entertainment, the money, their agendas and stuff like that. Of course there is. But at the end of the day, it always boils down to the money and engagement. Like, if people did not want Barabbas, Pilate would have gave him Jesus instead. But the people said, we want Barabbas, you know. And this is for another video, but that's the thing too, is you gotta acknowledge your own wickedness. You gotta acknowledge your own wickedness and understand the reason why the curses fall upon you. You know, understand that and accept that. That's it. You know, got to take responsibility, because remember the way the universe is set up with cause and effect. All right, you can't engage in certain activities and then not expect certain things to be what they are. So when you look and you ask yourself, because I see this a lot online too, people be like, oh, why are black people at the bottom of everything and this and that, blah, 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 right? Think about it. Don't answer the question, just think about it. Just think about it. Okay? And come up with your own conclusion. But I'm going to give you a hint. The conclusion, the answer is not external. That's the only hint I'll give you, and go from there. All right? Please like and subscribe, all that type of stuff. I know I rambled on. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Hit the like button, please. Subscribe. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think. And if you have different examples, let me know. I would love to hear them. And I'll see you guys on the next video.